Hi guys, welcome to Always Yarn First, a podcast about knitting, crochet, and all the yarny goodness in between. I'm Lindsay, and I'm coming to you from Little Rock, Arkansas, where I live with my family. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Always Yarn First. Welcome. This is episode 6. I can't believe it's almost the end of February. Again, well, it is the end of February. This episode, if you've joined me before, you'll know that I name my episodes song titles of songs that I love because I'm a music addict also. This week's episode is called Never Too Much, referring to Luther Vandross, and I will reference a link to that on Spotify below, along with everything else I talk about on here. And if you haven't guessed by watching last episode, Never Too Much is going to be referring to the amount of sweaters I have cast on and am ready to cast on. But we'll get into that in a couple minutes. So before we start, I want to mention a couple of make-alongs I am hosting. The first one is a make-along that's on right now through the end of this calendar year. It is #mystash2022MAL. This is a make-along, knitting, crochet, anything that uses up all stash yarn you've had before this calendar year counts. Posted on Instagram, if you're in the middle of the project, if you finished a project, all of those things count. Once a month, I will be pulling a prize, which will be a yarn from my stash that I'm no longer feeling myself, but you guys will get the benefit of. I'll show that real quick. The February prize is this yarn from Primrose Yarn Co. And this is Adelaide base, which is a single ply fingering weight, 100% superwash merino, and the colorway is called Like a Hurricane, along with a progress keeper from Lori at Arkansas Yarn Co. So that is February prize. So this will go up Sunday morning as usual, so you'll still have through Monday to post your /my stash. Also, regarding that, I had someone contact me who isn't on Instagram but wanted to participate. So the other news is that I have started a Ravelry group for this podcast. So if you are not on Instagram but want to participate in the /my stash make along, then post your finished objects on there. I do have a post for that, as long as a get to know me post and a chatter post. So not much going on there right now, but feel free to join along on that make along on my Ravelry group page under Always Yarn First. So I also am participating and hosting a second make along. I am co-hosting a make along with Lori from Arkansas Yarn Co. And we are doing a year-long Chevron Blanket. So we are coordinating with her Sock Society Club, which started in January. But her clubs come out the end of the month. So this make-along started February 1st this month. And it will go through January 31st of next year. So to participate in that, the only rules is it must be chevron and it must be a blanket of some kind. It can be a baby blanket, a throw, full-size blanket, and it can be with any yarn, and it can be knit or crochet. So all of those count. So where do you participate? I am hosting it on Instagram. If you use the hashtag #TheChevronYearItch, we will occasionally be pulling for prizes on there. And then Lori is hosting it on Ravelry. So if you go under Arkansas Yarn Co. group, you'll find a thread for this make-along that you can post your finished objects on there. So it is a year-long. We are both using her Sock Society Club. However, you do not have to use that, and you do not have to use Arkansas Yarn Co. yarn. However, if you do make a Chevron Blanket in Arkansas Yarn Co. yarn, when you post your finished objects in Ravelry, you can post a picture twice. It will count as 2 entries. So you can use any yarns. You could go through your scraps. You could basically double dip in both of my make-alongs. Use your stash and make a Chevron Blanket and be entered for prizes both. So now that's it for admin things. So let's get into the projects. I have finished 2 things. The first thing I finished is my contribution to We Share Needles podcast was hosting, or still is hosting, I should say, I think till mid-March, the Shawl along to make a shawl. And I made my lightweight hipster. This is a pattern by Locatelli. It uses 1 skein of yarn, 1 skein of fingering weight yarn. The marker is where I was on the last podcast. So I didn't have that much to go. In fact, I usually podcasting week, midweek, I think, what do I have to show this week? Have I finished anything? And I hadn't, because I have been working on sweaters like crazy. And I thought, well, let me look at the things I could get done. And so this project and my next finished object, I literally finished in the last day because I realized how close I was to finishing, getting some things off my needles. So I love this. This has been blocked so that you can really see the patterning. Let me hold up the lace work here in the middle. So yeah, this is really nice and light, and this is in Arkansas Yarn Co. Yummy Sparkle Base, and this was called Some Pig. And I love it. It's just the most beautiful blush pink, and I think it's going to be perfect for spring, like over a dress. Very lightweight, really nice. So super happy with that. And then the second thing I finished was my DK socks. You have previously seen I had finished 1. These, I just call them my Latte DK socks because I just do vanilla socks, and so I usually name my socks in Ravelry by whatever the colorway is. And this is Arkansas Yarn Co. again, but this is Merino DK weight. This does not have nylon in it, but I used some scraps for the heel with nylon. This is in the Much Ado About a Latte colorway, and these are my color jam. I love this kind of blue. In fact, my daughter was watching me knit with these, and every time she'd see me knit with them, she's like, can I have the rest of whatever you don't use of that yarn? I want to make something with that yarn. So I'm thinking I might get another skein so that she can play with it. But yeah, these are great. Previously I had made the 1, and these were gonna be for me, but I miscalculated and I made the foot a little bit too short, which is okay because my grandma loves DK socks. She has cold feet, and so she's always asking me for more. So these are gonna be for her. So I'm gonna get these out in the mail to her, and she doesn't even know they're coming. So that will be a nice surprise for her. So that is all I've finished. Oh, before we go on, I forgot to mention what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Worsted Boxy by Locatelli. This is one of my favorites. I love this. It keeps me warm, but not overly warm. And I actually used a DK weight with this. This is Madelinetosh DK Twist in the color Seaglass, which, again, I just love this color. I really love Madelinetosh yarns. When I first started making sweaters, Madelinetosh was my go-to sweaters. I really love DK weight sweaters, and I feel like it just holds up and it looks beautiful years later. So, and that has continued to be true. So that's what I'm wearing. All right, so let's get in to Wits. All right, so for those of you who've been here before, you know I've been working on a very long project of a blanket using row 1 minis, where you get 10 gram minis each month from different dyers. Every month is a different dyer. They're pre-wound, they're ready to go. I've been making granny squares with them. And then my goal is to make each month into one strip, eventually connect all those strips, and it will cover my king size bed. So last podcast, I had one color left of the current month I was working on. So I finished that color, and last night I connected them. So this was my last, I don't know what month this was, but the dyer is Candy Skein Yarns. This was the last one I needed to finish, this one. This one's a little wonky here. I'm keeping these strings attached just because until I attach like stripes next to them, I thought I might want those scraps there, so they kind of look a mess. But so again, I used the month long, which is 10 squares. And then I do 2 bare squares. This is just from Knit Pick Stroll fingering. I just do those on the ends. So this will go in my basket to add. And then I still have, I think, at least 3 more unopened row 1s waiting for me. And then next week is the beginning of a new month, which I'll receive another one. So I'm trying to eventually get caught up with them. But this pattern, I'm using Scrappy Granny Squares by Knitty Natty on Ravelry. It is a free pattern, and I really like this. It's so easy, and once you get in the groove of it, it doesn't take but a few minutes to make a square. So that is one work in progress. All right, this is another project. When I was thinking about what I was close to finishing, this was one that came to mind. I'm not as close as I was, of course, on the other shawl. I've shown this before. This is in my Fringe Supply Co bag. And this is my Allay shawl. Let me pick it up the right way. You'll see I did make some progress since the last time I showed it. Let me kind of fan it out and show it first if you haven't seen it. This is a 3-color shawl. So I used Barnyard Knits, like a pumpkin fade shawl, the middle color, and then now I'm into the last color, dark one. And you'll see where I was last time with my stitch marker. And so I'm in the last section, so I am getting close for sure, but not like super close. However, this is going to be a priority to get off my needles next month. There's no reason this shouldn't be done. And once we're getting into spring, that's when, you know, I can't wear really as many sweaters, but shawls are really nice when it's just cool out. So I really would like this shawl off my needles so I can enjoy it. So I don't know about next podcast. I'd like to say I'd like to have this done by next podcast, but again, I'm just so drawn to my sweaters lately. I have to make myself work on other things. So, but this is a gorgeous shawl, and I love this yarn by Barnyard Knits. So that is my other thing. And then, let's see. I feel like I'm flying through here. This I cast on the day after my last podcast. This is in a bag by Mountain State Stitches. This was a gift from Maddie, made by Maddie, which is from We Shall Share Needles podcast. And I had just cast on a basic sock. So, not much going on here. This is by Hugh Loco. And the colorway is Emerald City, and I didn't write down the base on my notes. But I love this colorway. So again, I've kind of mentioned before that I was really heavy into socks the last couple years, and I still love socks, you know, for this reason. It's pretty much been my purse project. So I basically try to keep a skein like wound up, ready to go right here next to me. Like right now I have like a Felici ready to go in case I finished a sock and I need a quick project. I have something wound right here by me. Because the day after I podcast last time, I was taking my daughter and a friend shopping. And they're teenagers, so I was kind of like, you know, trying to stay out of the way. So Sunday morning, I decided to cast on the sock and get the cuff done so that I could just work round and round and basically just kind of, you know, keep a watchful eye, but, you know, giving them their privacy while they did their girl time. So this has pretty much lived in my purse. That's why it hasn't gotten a ton of work done for 2 weeks. I mean, it has, but not what I would usually do when I focus on a sock. But tonight we're going to the movie theater, so this is what I'm going to bring. I think what I'm going to do is just make a tube, essentially, and just keep knitting because I don't like super tall socks at all. So I probably, either I could go ahead and do a heel right now and then work on the foot during the movie, or I'll just keep knitting and then worry about that after the fact. So, but yeah, I like this color. It's very different than anything I've ever had. Let me show you the cake. Like real dark browns and golden yellowy browns and all kinds of shades of green in there. So this is just really different for me, but I'm like, when I bought it, I was like, there's definitely not anything like this in my stash. I guaranteed. So that is my on-the-go purse project. So you'll probably be seeing that for quite a while just because I just kind of am tinkering with it here and there. All right, so I think one more thing before I get into my sweaters. Yeah. So I mentioned at the beginning the make-along I'm co-hosting with Lori. And so I have been done with February. Last time I had shown my yarn for this, and I had the tiniest bit. I think I literally finished it up that same day I podcast, that Saturday. That night I ran out of yarn. So this is my Chevron Blanket. I'm using the pattern called Chevron Baby Blanket and Chevron Throw by Karin, Karin. So what I'm doing for mine, my pattern is free, by the way, on Ravelry. So I'm guessing it's going to be hard to see. On the very bottom, I'm using the colorway Wedding Cake. So I have that in here on Sparkle Base. And the whole blanket, I'm using fingering weight held double to get the thickness I want. And I'm loving the thickness. So I'm using Wedding Cake, and just to kind of go between each month's colors. But I didn't want to use a ton because I don't know where the colors are going to go. So I'm just doing the tiniest bit. So I cast on with the Wedding Cake, and I did knit 2 rows, cross and back. That's it. And then I used her color of the month from the Sock Society box, which is gorgeous. If you haven't seen already, I posted an unboxing. It's on my channel here with Lori at the store, and we're going to be doing that every month. So today is Saturday, and Monday, which is the last day of February, I will be at Arkansas Yarn Co. and I will be unboxing February's box. So along with that, every month we're going to make a video of the unboxing along with both of us showing our progress. So you'll see this again if you watch that video coming up. because she's using a different pattern. And we're doing, you can use any pattern as long as it's chevron. So she's using a different one. She's doing the Missoni. So hers is going to have more white stripes between colors and things and throughout. So it'll be really interesting. We're using essentially this exact same yarns, but making different blankets. So it'll be really fun to see as we go along in the months. So I'm caught up, and you'll see that I did my 2 rows of wedding cake white. And I am ready. When I get my yarn Monday, I will be ready to start right up with that yarn. So I'm excited. I'm caught up. Lori and I talked about we're nervous that throughout the year we won't be completely caught up necessarily when we make our video, which is okay because in the middle of southern summers, you really don't want a blanket on your lap. So you got to be in the nice air conditioning, cool enough. But this is my chevron, and I love it so much. I actually was so sad that the last 2 weeks I haven't had it to work on because it's 2 rows for the whole thing, just back and forth. It was perfect TV knitting that you just don't have to think about it, but yet it's coming across beautifully. And we're both using her sparkle base, so that is super fun. All right, so let's get into the sweater talk. So first of all, I'll talk with a sweater I hadn't showed last time because I had put it down for a while. But I picked it back up and I'm back to loving it again. This is in a Mrs. Brown's Bags, Joji of the Grocery Girls. And this is my V-back tee. So I have previously shown it, but not for a while. So let me find where my marker is. So essentially, according to the name of the pattern, this would be the front because the V is in the back, but it's also meant that you can wear it either way. So I am using my advent calendar from last year that I got from Pineapple Yarn. So I started with day 1, the top, and let's see. Can you see my marker? I kind of was like just getting into like the more whites with my marker. I've gotten through that and I'm into like the greens now. So I'm loving it. I previously talked about some issues I was having with the pattern. Just because it's a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to get so into it, but just like where she has you, how she has you do the sleeve, and where she has you cut the yarn and then start back the yarn, it just, I didn't really understand it, and it kind of made issues for one of my arms, but I'm past that now. And then the reason I put this down and I wasn't working on it is because, again, I've previously mentioned I hate math. No, like I really, really hate math. Like my husband helped me figure out the calculations of like how much I needed to use so that I would get to use all 24 colors. We kind of broke it down with my size, how much yardage it says, and then how many colors I wanted to use that way. So my thing was, then I was worried about the sleeves. I've never done like trying to match up colors on sleeves compared to body. And I'm like, oh, I already have in my mind how much grams I need to weigh to use less of, but how much do I need for each sleeve? Like that literally was why I stopped. Like I did not want to think about it. So what was my solution? I am hot-blooded, and most of my sweaters are short sleeve, most of them. And this is a nice light fingering weight, and I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a short sleeve sweater. So what I did, as you can see, I finished the sleeve. Totally finish it. So I had left like a gram of this first color that I had gotten into before I stopped, like the beginning of this white. I left a gram of that. And then the next color, which was also, you know, more white, I left 2 grams of that for the sleeve. I picked up where I had stopped for the sleeve. I knit 4 rounds, I think, and then I did a lace bind off. So of course it's not blocked, so it's kind of curling up a bit. But I really, and this is the first time I've done this bind off, and I really, really love it. We'll see how it wears. I just didn't want to mess with it, and I missed working on this sweater where I had the color changes. I'm just dying to see the end product of this. And again, I think it'll be great for spring, so I really want it done. And I feel like just that one tiny thing was holding me up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about that. So now, because I didn't really do sleeves, it is supposed to be a short sleeve shirt, but I thought, well, that probably messes with how much grams I need to hold, because I probably would have needed to hold a little bit extra for the sleeves. So I kind of adjusted that, and I think it'll be all right. So the next adjustment I made is after you work a little bit past the sleeve separation, you are supposed to do short rows. Now, I don't mind doing short rows, but at this point in the pattern and what I had in my mind for the colors and stuff, the short rows in this sweater, because you're not usually, this isn't written for an advent style, like a mini skein. It's written for like 4 colors, I think, maybe. It wants you to start and stop a color at a very specific place if you do the short rows. So I, again, was trying to like think through it, and I'm like, how do I do this? I don't know if that'll be right for my colors. It'll be too much of one color or too short of another color. And so I'm just not doing it. I'm okay with it. I have many sweaters that don't have short rows, and it's fine. This is a nice lightweight, and I just want it to be like a throw-on, kind of like a t-shirt sweater. So I am literally just knitting. I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm totally fine with it. So because now I've kind of readjusted my mind to the pattern, and I'm just knitting, I think that this will go quickly because I just love getting to the next color. So let's see, this is the color I'm on. It's kind of like a mossy, greeny with some blues coming through. So this is a sneak peek of the next color. So this is day 14 right here to kind of give you an idea of where I'm at. And I love it so much. So let me show you the V part of it. So this is the V back T. But honestly, I just love this detail down the front. So I think I'm probably going to wear the V in the front just because I think it adds a lot to the sweater, the detail. So I'm hoping that I won't regret not following the pattern on this, but I don't think I will. It's one of those things where I just gotta get over a certain thing. Otherwise, it'll be in a corner just sitting and not getting any work done. So that is the V back tee. And if you've seen me show that before, you know that with that, I wanted to be able to use up all my advent yarn. So when I'm done with the tee, each color, I have been making one giant Scrappy granny square. I think this is so cool. It won't be huge, I don't think, but so all the colors I've completely done with are on here. I have added to the square. So you see color 1 starts right in the middle, and then it goes outwardly. And pretty soon, actually, it won't be able to get it even all the way around. But I'm just assuming this is going to be a couch, like, lap blanket. I just love, because this advent is a gradient, I just love seeing the colors change. I think it's just the coolest thing. So I am using up every bit of yarn. I literally crochet around So here is, let's see, yeah, here's my stitch marker. This is where I had stopped last time. You can see what colors I've added around. And then I literally crochet up here until I have just like a tail enough. And once I'm done with the colors, you see I've already woven my ends. Not as I went, but like I'll leave this one until I'm at the next one. Once I finish the next color, I'll go back and wind in these. So I love it. It's so pretty and it's so fun to watch change colors. Even though you're just knitting, it's something about color changing is just fun. All right, so let's talk about the 2 sweaters I showed last time. This one I had just put in the round last time. This is my Cape Creek Minimalist pullover. So I have strings everywhere on this one. I have not woven any ends as I've gone. So you can see the Pop-Tart. I'm not sure where I got that from. Usually the food ones I get either from Sucre Miniature or Little Bitty Delights. So one of those two is probably where I got that stitch marker. So last time I was way up here. I had just started in the round basically when I showed this last time. So I've made a good deal of progress. Oh, this yarn feels so good. I think this color sweater is gonna be amazing. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait. So I obviously worked in the round. I have gotten past the sleeve separation now. So this is going very well. Like I said, it's a mess right now because if you watched the last episode, I talked about my big story about how I got these 2 yarns like 5 years apart. So one is a cashmere base and one is not. So I'm alternating every round with each other. And it's working great because this one, which is not the cashmere, it's not rough feeling. It feels perfectly soft until, of course, you feel this one. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this is so soft. But when you work them up every other row, and then you feel it in the garment, it feels great. You can't tell at all. So it's really, my plan so far is working really well for this. And I am excited to have this sweater. This is in my bag from Nikki of Knick Knack Knits. I got this at Arkansas Yarn Co. last year during the yarn crawl. And I think this year's yarn crawl is going to be in July sometime. So I'll probably snag another one of these giant bags. It's so cute. I love that I can see it. It has plenty of room. And I love that the drawstrings essentially have a ruler on it, which is awesome. And it stands up nice. So she has her own website, which I will link below. All right. Last sweater currently that I'm working on. This is in my By the Lakeside bag from Sandy. This is my bright pink, get your sunglasses on, Lawrenson sweater. So again, this one last time I wasn't in the round yet because this one was a little bit different construction. I did panels to a certain point. If you can see the gummy bear, that is from 3 by the Sea. And I was there and I am now in the round. Big ol'. I'm very curious about this, the directions of this. Now this is the sweater that kind of has the poofy up sweater. So I'm thinking right now for basically the rest of this sweater, I'm literally knitting in the round except doing a little bit of a detail under the sleeve on the side. So super easy, very mindless. I'm thinking soon I might try a sleeve before I get too much farther, just because I'm so curious about it. Like I said, I'm looking at this. You saw the armhole for the last sweater, and this seems huge. But I know the construction's different. I'm a follow direction girl, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna follow the directions and hope that those are right. So I'm hoping that this is right, but I'm kind of thinking maybe before I get too far, I might try a sleeve. But otherwise, this is going great. It's in the round now. Like I said, this is literally knitting except a tiny little detail on the side. So very easy TV knitting. And this is using Lori's yarn again. She had dyed this for me. I said I wanted a super hot pink. And you'll see that she did not disappoint me. It is in her Yummy DK base, and she named it Shockingly. And she liked it so much that I think she ended up dyeing some for her that she's using in a current project. So we'll see. So yeah, not really much to say on this. Doesn't really look like much, but I think I might try the sleeve because I'm really curious about that part. That's kind of like what makes the sweater. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so that is everything I have currently been working on. So talking about never too much sweaters. Well, maybe it is too much. I don't know. So a couple episodes ago, I had mentioned my husband's sweater. It was a bottom-up sweater, and I had gotten to the sleeve separation, and then basically you still took that main color and you did decreases for armhole shaping. So then you're working flat. And I was working flat, and I had started the color work, but the color work was knit on both sides. So essentially you knit across one way, and then you purl across, holding your floats that way. And I have done a few color work sweaters, but I definitely was not ready for doing color work on the purl side. I did not like it. I had, mentioned on the podcast, has anybody done it before? I had gotten a few people who said they have done it. It's not great, but it's not a big deal. I had a few suggestions that maybe I could knit the sleeves for a sweater, and then when I get up here, basically adjust it where I'm, putting it on the sweater, and then I could just do the color work in the round. So thank you if you suggested something for me. So what I've decided to do is frog it. So it comes down to, and I think that I've, seen this on a lot of other podcasts, not necessarily this scenario, but it comes down to, is it making me happy knitting it? I'm all for, making things for other people, even if it's something I don't love per se, because I have enough projects I can switch back and forth, work a little bit on that and then work on something I love. But I really do want to make my husband a sweater. But this one just was not bringing me joy. And the problem I was having is even if I pushed through and did, either scenario on that sweater, I've knit enough sweaters for me that I feel confident when I'm knitting, making some tweaks and adjustments where I know my body and I know what's worked for me because I've knit a bunch of sweaters. This is the first sweater I would knit for him, and it's bottom up. So we can't really try it on and really know if it fits him. And so I'm thinking, okay, if I push through and I want to give him this gorgeous sweater, and then I spent all these hours and it is not fun and I hated it, but I knit him a sweater and then it doesn't fit, then what? Like, I would not be happy. He would not be happy, and I would be mad that I spent so much time making myself do it that it's just not worth it to me. So what I decided to do is I was looking up a different sweater I could make for him. So I am going to make him the single malt sweater, and I'll put in a picture. I love this sweater. I think it's a great classic look with just some texture in it. It's one color. And honestly, you know, I feel like it's a sweater I could get on my needles and just like all my other sweaters, just power through it. Like it wouldn't be a big deal. And he could try it on during the process to make sure that he has a sweater he loves and cherishes, and that will make me happy to see him wear it and love it. So, and I wasn't going to do that right away. I had picked out, I showed him the pattern, he liked it, and I said, okay, I'm going to get Wool of the Andes yarn from Knit Picks. I'm just going to kind of like, I asked him what colors he liked, and then I just kind of set it aside, like the measurements of what I would need. I didn't need more yarn right now. I had plenty of sweaters on my needles. And then this week, I get an email from Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes was on sale. And I was like, okay, my husband's a bigger guy, taller guy. And I'm like, all right, if I'm going to buy it, I'm going to just buy it now. I mean, I might as well. So I bought a sweater's quantity of yarn. It is not here yet. It is on the way. So that will be on my needles. I don't know if I'll cast it on immediately, but I definitely feel confident that he will have a sweater this calendar year with that pattern. And I've used Wool of the Andes before for myself, and I love it. And so I think he will be happy with it. I mean, yes, he won't get a cool Star Wars colorwork sweater, but he'll get a handmade sweater, and it will fit him nice, and I will make sure it will. So I'm happy with that. So that is the update on that sweater. And then I have a couple sweaters that I'm ready to go. I want to cast on, but then I'm like, maybe I should wait because I have 3 going right now. So stay tuned. Who knows what I'll do, if I actually will be good and wait, or if I will just cast on all the things. So this one, I actually had this yarn last time and I forgot to show it on the podcast. Not that one. This is also from Knit Picks. They were clearancing some things, and I had wanted to make another Weekender sweater. The Weekender is one of my favorite sweaters. I love it. And I really thought, especially, you know, we're closing in the winter season. I've been thinking about what sweaters I've been wearing a lot. And that is one that I wear probably the most. And so I saw this yarn on clearance and I thought, man, that would make a great Weekender. And I've already made that sweater. I have the pattern. I know exactly what size and what needles I used. So I got it. So this is, let's see, I have the tag here. Simply Wool Twist Worsted Weight. It's Wool Wordsworth and Wanda is the colorway. So I got a sweater quantity of this. Like I said, I had this last podcast, but I forgot to show it. And it is already in my bag. This is from Lobby and On Me. I have it with my pattern, with my needles. It literally, I have 3 skeins caked up, ready to go. I honestly thought I was going to have it cast on already, but I have stopped myself. So this one is for real ready to go for the Weekender. Another one, if you saw my Instagram, this was from quite a few weeks ago. I was at Target one day with my daughter and she was trying on some clothes and I was waiting for her. And I happened to stare over at this sweater that was like a lovely minty sea foam color green. And I was just staring. It was just like a basic, you know, Target sweater. And I was just staring at it and I'm like, man, I love that color. I need a sweater that color. I went home that day and just happened to go on Arkansas Yarn Co.'s website, and this was on there. And I'm like, seriously, Lori's reading my mind these days. I definitely did not need sweater yarn, at all, have plenty of projects, but I'm like, oh my goodness, that it literally was the color of the sweater I was staring at. So I got this. So this is part of acquisition. So we're kind of doing acquisitions and future projects. So this is, the colorway is mint condition, which I know she still has some on her website if you're interested. This is in her Yummy Plush base, which is an 85% merino and a 15% nylon. So yeah, I literally, when I bought it, I just knew I needed enough for a sweater quantity. I just wanted that color sweater. I didn't know what I was going to make. And then I did pick a pattern, which I have right here. The sweater I saw at Target was just kind of like a basic raglan, and I kind of loved it. It just, you could kind of throw it over. It had the ease of like, you know, a t-shirt, free-flowing kind of thing. So I will be making the Bright Side, which is a free pattern from Espace Tricot. So it's okay if you see the pattern here because it is free. And you can see it's just kind of a basic pattern. And so here's another sweater that literally it's caked up. Doesn't have my needles and stuff yet in there, but it's pretty much ready to go. If I'm dying for a cast on, it's already caked up. This and the Weekender, which, you know, is dangerous. So, all right, there's one more project that I will be shortly casting on. This last weekend, I taught a crochet class at Arkansas Yarn Co., which was really fun, and was talking to Lori about that she doesn't have any crochet samples in her store. So we're going to try to change that, and we're going to get some samples in so people that are diehard knitters can see the kind of different things that crochet could offer. So I will be making this Hayride Triangle. This is a pattern from TL Yarn Crafts, which I love her. She has fantastic patterns in crochet and Tunisian crochet, which I still haven't learned, but I had picked up her Tunisian crochet book from the library, and I bought her some hooks, and there's a couple projects that are on my list to cast on this year. But I love this pattern, and the other thing that's great, now this is a paid for pattern, but the other thing that's great if you're learning crochet, this only has a couple of stitches. You really don't have to know much, and it has written instructions and charted instructions for crochet. So I'll be making that. This is going to be my main color. This is Arroyo by Malabrigo. It's a DK weight. And I should say the colorway. Peggy is the colorway. So I have 2 skeins of that. And this is going to be, you saw that there was like a bold color on the outside. So this is what we're going to do. And this is Azul Profundo. So I think that should be fun. So that is shortly going to be cast on. And that will not be mine, but that will be at Arkansas Yarn Co. store as a sample. So you'll be able to see it there for yourself once I get going on this. All right, so that is future projects. So we started kind of into acquisitions. I do have 2 more acquisitions. One of them is, I had mentioned that last year I had did the Desert Vista Dye Works 7th annual sock knit along, where you knit a pair of socks every single month and you use her yarn. If you do that, there's different benefits you get all year. If you make it through January through December, you get a special colorway at the end of the year that only those members. So I got my exclusive colorway, and it was a sock blank. So I'm not going to unwrap this now, but I'm going to insert a picture. I've taken this out and took a picture. It's a beautiful like rainbow. It's a sock blank, and you can see here it says 28 of 92. So that means 92 people finished the Desert Vista knit along last year, which is kind of cool. So only 91 other people have this yarn, which is awesome. I love this. I love the colors, but I think once I do knit it up, I think it's going to be a muscle girl hat. Just so you can see all the colors, because it looks really good together. I think the socks, you'd miss out on each sock, the colors. So this is my special thing that I received for that. And then the last thing I got, I just got this yesterday. I'm so excited. So I have a friend named Amber. She used to live in Little Rock, but she lives outside of Houston now. And she's an artist. She dabbles in lots of different art, whether it's painting herself, whether it's drawing and doing like a watercolor app, like on her iPad, all kinds of different things, photography. And quite a while ago, she had made cards, and it had, when she lived in Little Rock, it had different Little Rock locations specifically, and she'd write what they were, and she made them into cards. And I had found them, and I had messaged her and said, hey, do you have any more of these? Because now that I'm giving away yarn for different giveaways for the podcast, I think it's really cool to have these cards that has things in my area to give to other people as prizes, along with their prizes. And she said, no, she's not really doing it anymore. But then all of a sudden she had found some. These are all cards. She sent me separate envelopes. These are all cards. So she sent me a whole stack of them because I told her I really would love it for the podcast. So I kept them all nicely wrapped to show you guys. But I think these are cute. I'm not going to go into every one of them, but just kind of give you an example of what we're looking at. She writes down there, this is Two Rivers Park in Little Rock, Arkansas. And then on the back has her logo. Her logo is amstincan.com. Now I know she is on Etsy. That's where I followed her on her store. Her Etsy store is still open. There are still things in there, but I had asked her, I told her I was going to mention her on the podcast, and I asked her if she was regularly putting things in, and she said right now she's not. But I know she does have some things in her store, and I will link that below. But just wildlife things. These are so pretty. I love this one. But yeah, so I just think it's cool. Like, so this one you can see is more like of a painting she did. This is the trolley that we have downtown in Little Rock. So on the back it says Little Rock Trolley. I love these. So if you ever get a prize package from me, these cards are going to go in there. And thank you so much, Amber, for these. These are so special. And hopefully you'll be back to making these one day, because I'm pretty sure once I do run out again, I'm going to beg you for more. So I love these. All right. So that is it for yarny things, acquisition things. So the other thing for today's podcast is the top 3 list this week. So this week's top 3 is podcast. So let's talk briefly about podcasts. You're obviously watching my podcast now, so you must like them to a certain extent. My cat is climbing around me right now. So podcasts, I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch more podcasts than I do TV of any kind. I adore them. So I get so distracted anyways when it comes to TV or whatever. I'm just like, what just happened? Where podcast is kind of great with that, because I'm sure as you've listened to or watched, maybe you're not even watching this podcast, you're just listening to it. you kind of, get up and get a beverage and let it play. And that's cool. That's what I do too. But that's what's great about podcasts. It's like you're just sitting with a knitting friend or a crochet friend and just visiting. And that's why I love them. So I love all kinds of podcasts. I love podcasts that people are doing it by themselves, like I am. I love podcasts where it's a group of friends, 2 or more, where they go off the rails. Or they're, more serious, toned down. I love podcasts that go into interviews. I love podcasts that talk about tutorial things. I love podcasts that are just super basic and it's like, here's what I worked on. Thanks for watching. I love them all. I, kind of have a watch later list on my YouTube. I don't know if you use that. Right now, I have 27 queued in there. Because I watch so many, I can never narrow it down. My watch later queue never gets lower than 20. I always have at least 20 podcasts in there to catch up on, which is great, and I love it. And that's why I watch so many. So I just kind of wanted to shout out my top 3, although you'll see I'm going to cheat on one of them. But my top 3 podcasts as of right now. So number 3 is Professor Pearl, Prof. Pearl. I've mentioned her before. She is great, and she is a fairly new podcaster. She podcasted before me, but she hasn't been doing it that long either. I love her. She just podcasts by herself. She talks about her daughter and her husband a lot. She does interviews with different yarn stores. She does a little bit of tutorial stuff. And she's just real mild-mannered, and you can just tell she just loves knitting and talking about yarn. She is a lover of hot pink. In fact, she has been eyeing my shockingly pink yarn because she loves that, which she was actually the inspiration for that sweater for me. She's just great. I love her very much. And she is located in Oregon, but she used to live in Illinois, and I used to live in Illinois. So her favorite local yarn shop is a yarn shop I've also been to in Illinois. So I hope to meet her one day in person. That would be awesome. So my second favorite podcast is the Naughty Knitwits. And this is hosted by Leslie and Michelle. They are also, I think, in Oregon. And so it's 2 girls. They are so funny. They keep it super real. They have no shame in the yarn or the things they talk about. I love them. I just want to sit there and knit with them and just listen to their stories because I just adore them. They're great. They make me laugh. And the thing about these top 3 podcasts, like I said, I love all podcasts, but these are the podcasts in my top 3 that I think as soon as they come out, I don't even put them on my watch later. I watch them immediately. I have to know exactly what they're working on, what they've got to say. So my number 1 is kind of where I cheat a little bit. So I have 2 for number 1, but it's my local crew. So I kind of had to put them together. So both I've talked about a ton of times on here. We Share Needles podcast and Arkansas Yarncast podcast. So these are girls, like I said, with podcasts, it's people that you want to hang out with. You would like to meet in real life. You want to sit and knit with in real life. Well, lucky for me, my top podcast, I get to knit with these girls in real life and hang out in real life and know that what you see on the podcast is exactly who they are. So We Share Needles, of course, Kristen and Natty. They go off the rails a lot. They are hilarious. Literally, the Naughty Knitwits and We Share Needles is almost the same podcast, except different generations. So I say if you like one of those podcasts, you definitely need to watch the other one because it's the same vibe going on. And then, of course, Arkansas Yarncast is Lori, Jessa, and Anna from Arkansas Yarn Co. that do a podcast every few weeks, and I adore them. So please check them out if you haven't checked out any of those podcasts. And from now on, since I've done a top 3, I think what I'm going to do is every podcast I'm going to mention a new podcast I love, because when I was making this, there were so many I wanted to talk about. So I think every week I will just add another one that I want to mention and highlight as why I love them so much, because go give them your love. Of course, I love that you're here. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out. But go like and subscribe to them girls, even if you can't watch right away, and help them out, because I just think they're all great. So that is it for me this week. I talked over an hour, so thank you so much if you stuck it out till now. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time.